We are live.
All right.
Yes, yes, yes. We are live. We are thankful for sound. I mean, literal sound. I am thankful for sound. And
Yeah.
I mean, in my mind, that type of sound. I know y'all thankful for the other sound, but I'm thankful for the sound in my mind. So
Right.
we had a few difficulties, but that's okay. Those things are necessary when you're going into another place, if that makes sense. So I know I told some of the guests to come back in about 8:15, 8:20. I don't like to keep people waiting. I understand that some of you are on the way home, picking up the kids, cooking dinner, and we're all just in here together. So just really briefly, I do not have to give an introduction for these two, but I'm going to because I believe that they absolutely deserve it. If you look at the screens, you can see both of their names. Both of them share a same name. What a coincidence. Not only do they share a same name, they share they share a mother. One is biological and the other is a godmother. So we have a lot in common. Me and Rick Pringle, we share a godmother who is the wonderful, the awesome, the amazing Bishop Prophetess Deborah Webb. Rick think he's a favorite child, but I'm here to tell you, everybody's listening, you are not. It is me. Everybody knows that it is me. And so
No.
I'm to have both of them with me on tonight. They are not just friends of mine, but they are family.
Amen.
They have been with
Absolutely.
me in seasons of my life where I didn't even understand literally if I was going or if I was coming. They have been with me in seasons of my life where life was really good. They've been with me in seasons of my life where life was, I didn't even know I was alive at times, right? We have so many things in common, but I'm grateful for friends. Friend is one of those words that people throw around so often without even understanding the meaning of what a friend really is. The Bible says that a friend sticks closer to you than a brother.
Mhm.
Many of them, either of them or both of them, I've sat with them and I've been able to be vulnerable with them about things that have happened to me, my family. We've been able to talk about a variety of things, be it spiritual things, natural things, and sometimes even carnal things. They are individuals who allow me to be exactly who I am. I don't have to put on the front. I don't have to pretend. I don't have to act. I don't have to be. They allow me to be the Ukia and they celebrate me. They celebrate my accomplishments. They even when I'm down, they lift me up. And I also want to add, not only are they pastors, they're husbands, they are fathers. They are amazing fathers. They carry a variety of people, not just they don't just shepherd over people. I'm not going to get into all of the occupations that they hold and that they carry because they do. They both of them are Jamaican. I mean they.
That's the truth.
I don't even know what to say about that. Both
You
of
said
them
it.
absolutely hardworking, right?
No doubt
I
about it.
don't think hardworking is it doesn't even fit. Uh, Anytime I call them, it's never I am sleeping, I am resting, or I am tired. It is always, y'all know my favorite, I am ripping and running. They are always ripping and running, doing something. Whether it's for the kingdom, whether it's for their family, it's for the church, it's for the funeral home. So without further ado, I'm going to allow them to introduce themselves. And what I'll do is after they introduce themselves, I will allow them to go into the part or the portion of their profession that they want to share. And then from there, we're going to just vibe. It's nothing formal today. And I would like to preface this by saying they have their own Bible studies. If you want to know what days those are, ask them. But tonight is not that night. Tonight, we are not having Bible study. We're
Right.
actually talking about things. We are actually talking about things that's going to help you get your life in order, get your mind in order, and we just going to have some fun. You know, the Bible going to come up because when the Bible is in you, it comes out of you. So You know, some scripture might come up. We might need to reference a couple of things. But at the end of it all, I absolutely knew that I wanted to have the both of them on because they're filled with knowledge, they're filled with wisdom, and it's very rare in our community that we see men being supported. We see a lot of women being supported for the work that they do. You can scroll on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and 9 times out of 10, you're going to see a man or men or a group of men being bashed for one reason or another. And so that is not the work that I do. That is not the platform that I am building. I want to bring people to you that are built or are in the building process and have the potential and have the skill and have the wherewithal to also pull other people along with them without judgment, without throwing any stones. And I'm not telling you what I heard, I'm telling you what I know. I have had conversations with them that I wouldn't dare repeat on this podcast because at many times I've had to cuss people out. And you know what they did? They sat there and they listened to me. They did not pull out a Bible and say, "You're going to hell today." They didn't do any of that. You know, they gave me wise counsel, right? They gave me wise counsel. And on top of the wise counsel, I've been able to laugh about it. And I am where I am and doing the things that I'm doing right now because of the prayers that them and our Mother Web have prayed. So we are grateful for that. And so with that being said, I'm going to kick it off to Rick Banner, and Rick, you kick it off to Rick P.
All right. I mean, you have definitely put it into perspective tonight. And certainly I'm appreciative for the opportunity to be here. And to, as you so eloquently put it, to be amongst family. You know, both of us are in the business outside of ministry, which is all about family, of course, but both of us are in the business where that's exactly what we do. We help families. So it's certainly a pleasure and an honor to be here tonight with both of you all, my sister, my brother, and just to give a little bit of insight on what I do in regards to helping families. I am the CEO, as you see, of Sapiro Financial Group, and we offer a myriad of services through insurance, through life insurance in particular, also through annuities. And what we really focus on is people being able to position themselves and position their family. For most of us, what's important to us is our family, whether it's our children or our parents, our loved ones. Some people say blood is thicker than water, but I think that that's subjective. But however, family is important to us. So what we do here at Sapiro Financial is we, again, help people to position themselves and position their family to where they can leave a legacy. So our motto is to build, secure, and ensure. You want to build a legacy. You want to secure your financial future, and you want to ensure peace of mind. And at the end of the day, no matter what anyone says, we all want to have a peace of mind when it comes down to our finances. We don't want to be stressed out, about money. We don't want to not have enough money. We don't want to be in a position where we have to go beg people for money, so on and so forth. So what we do here, again, is we help you best position yourself to have financial, not only stability, but financial freedom, and to also pass that on to your family. So again, it's a pleasure to be here. And my brother, Pastor Rick Pringle, once again, as you've already stated, we're both in the business of helping families on the ministry side and outside. So the ministry. So he is just, an extraordinary funeral director, manager, pastor, preacher, and he can certainly take great care of you and your family. And what I love, and I'm going to turn it over to him, but what I love about with both of us, what we do is it goes far beyond just the initial consultation or the initial situation. So, for example, if I have a client and it goes far beyond a transactional relationship, it becomes a lifelong relationship, literally, where I know their children, I know their parents, I know their aunts and uncles, their nieces and nephews, so on and so forth. And I'm available. I and my team, we are available for the entire family for a lifetime. As long as God allows me to live on this earth, I'm available. And that's one thing I love about it, because again, it's not just transactional, it's relational. And I know that that's a big part of what Pastor Rick does as well. So he's extraordinary, and I'll yield over to him to give you some insight on what he does exactly.
Well, praise the Lord, everybody. No, I'm playing. I'm sorry. So, grace and peace, everyone. I'm Pastor Rick Pringle. I'm the manager at R.N. Horton Funeral Service, which is on 600 Kennedy Street, Northwest. Newly promoted to this position. I've actually been with the company for 12 years now. Long time coming. Amen. I'm also honored to serve as the pastor of the Worship Center DC on Capitol Hill. I actually, believe it or not, being a funeral director, being an undertaker, it was actually my childhood dream. Most people think I'm crazy because of it, but God knew what he was doing. And when your steps are ordered, When your steps are ordered, your steps are ordered. So it was my childhood dream as a child to be an undertaker, what we called it back then. And go figure, my favorite wrestler was The Undertaker. So they all went hand in hand. And then later on, the Lord would allow me to go to school and become what my childhood dream had been. And I've been serving ever since. And what makes me so good, as Pastor Rick said, at what I do is because I've sat in the seat of the families that I serve. I had to bury my own father. I had to bury my grandfather. I buried my presiding bishop, several of my other mentors and leaders, close friends, even my nephew. I mean, all kind of family members. So when you sat in that seat, and I know like Ukia, she just experienced the loss of her grandmother. When you sit in that seat and you understand how people feel when they're going through, it gives you a different understanding of the moment, because you can't minister to someone. Well, you can, but it's harder to minister to someone when you haven't been through what they've been through. So when I've sat in your seat and I know how you feel, I can place myself in your shoes and know the proper service that I should give you. So each day I strive to give every family that we deal with that exact same experience that I would expect, and give you service with the spirit of excellence.
You done, Rick?
Oh, I'm sorry, I'm done. I was trying to limit my dissertation, but
okay, so I'm over here. I can hear you. I'm just over here doing my. I'm gonna get this together at some point, but as long as I haven't lost you all, because they're here to see y'all, not me. So I wanted to ask a question, and you all know I speak very transparent. And I appreciate you, Rick, mentioning the fact that I had just recently lost my grandmother. And I would want to stop and say this. I don't, and I'm gonna be very, very honest, because I don't know any other way to be. I have been in a season of, I don't know what is going on.
Yeah.
And I'm just gonna be very honest, but let me say this. I am not in a season where I am angry or upset with God. My relationship with God is so tight. I already understand, and I already know that God is responsible. The one thing that I said last night to my family, we were talking, and one thing that I know for certain is that, and this is the only scripture that has been in my spirit along with me listening to, now pay attention to what I'm saying. not reading it, but listening to Psalms 91, because I've been in a place where I could not even read, not because I don't feel God. I'm a drifter. I've just not been able to do it. I don't have any questions for God as to why, when, and how. I understand God too much to have those questions. I know that it is for a reason, but the scripture that has been in my see, here's the other thing. When you sitting with people, no matter what profession they are, no matter what their occupation is, when they know God, and it's going to come out, because we're going to talk about what we do professionally, but we can't help but to speak about who we serve every single day. And so the one scripture that has been in my spirit is, the Lord giveth and the Lord taketh away, but blessed be the name of the Lord. I don't understand the season, but what I know is that God has not left me. So Rick knows recently we buried grandma, but just Saturday, our dog was hit by a speeding car. Before we lost grandma, my mother's mother, we lost Grandma Flo. Grandma Flo is my father's mother, who we lost in the summertime. Before we lost my father, we lost Aunt Bessamay. Before we lost Aunt Bessamay, we lost Uncle Anthony. So for the last 2 years, I have been in a place of, I don't know. But I have not been in a place of, God, leave me alone, and you shouldn't have. I'm not in that place. And I'm grateful to God that I'm not in that place, because what I can say is I know too much about God to be in that place.
Can I jump in and tell you why? Can I tell you why? Oh,
yeah. No, go ahead. Go ahead.
The reason why is because that's called maturity. There's a huge difference in the actions and the behaviors and even in the beliefs between a babe in Christ and someone that is mature. Because when I've matured in Christ and I've come to know him, not reading him, learning about him through the scriptures, when I come to know him for myself. And how do I get to know him? Through my trials and my tribulations. If I never had a problem, how could I know that God could solve them? Mm-hmm. But then on top of that, as you grow in God and as you mature, like I teach them at my church, the same God that brought me from point A to here is the same God that's going to carry me from here on. See, you have to get to the place where you can trust God even when you can't even trace him. I don't know where you are, but I know you're working it out on my behalf anyway. And I trust you with my life because I believe that my steps are ordered. I'm sorry, I'm preaching already. My bad.
Yeah, I think, I mean, you're definitely right. And I concur. And I can tell you, sis, myself personally, I've been down that road, and I know exactly where you are and how you feel. And you're not alone. You're not alone. There's so many people that go through that are in the same position that you're in. And I like to say, I've said this for years, we all go through the same stuff, just at different times, and sometimes at the same time. We just may not know it, right? Because you may not share. But someone else, they may be tight-lipped about it, but they're going through the same thing you're going through at the same time. So we all have, the same experiences, to a degree, of course, but especially when you're talking about people that are anointed, people that are called, people that are anointed in leadership. Certainly, we share the same experiences. There's no doubt about that. And me, myself, like Rick said, he always wanted to do this, and I always wanted to do this as well. It was a dream of mine, and it was something that I never pursued fully until later in life. I was doing other things, and I pursued different things, and but there were 3 things I wanted to do since I was a child. This was one of them. The other one was to be an attorney, or the other one was to work for some sort of some sort of alphabet agency. I didn't want to just be like a police officer. I wanted to be like a special agent or something. I wanted to, be, across the world doing something, and God shut that down. A lot of people don't know that about me, about my story. But I did actually go that route and was given an offer and everything. And without getting too in depth into it, it got shut down. And when it got shut down, people couldn't understand it. I was reaching out. People was like, "What? That doesn't sound right." And I said, "No, I know what it is. That's God telling me, no, you're not going that way. You're not going that route. I have something else for you to do." So this is something I always wanted to do. Even when I looked into being an attorney, I took the LSAT. I had attorneys telling me, "Hey, just apply for school, man. Your score is high enough. Just apply for school." And looked into it. I had some other things I had to do, prerequisites, and would have took a little bit longer time. And I just never went, through with it. But this is something that I've been passionate about because being able to help people in this way, as Rick has said, as you have said, I've been affected by this. I've got my own personal stories. I've seen it as a pastor, as a minister, as a friend. I've seen thousands of people. Literally going back to my childhood, thousands of people that have suffered loss without being covered, without having their finances in order. GoFundMe now, the money they've made, I believe it's like over $1 billion since they've started, off of the fees that they charge when you put your money in GoFundMe to give to people. And don't get me wrong, people do get a portion of the money, but certainly GoFundMe gets a nice chunk of it as well. So I've seen so many people that left, didn't have their finances in order. And we're not even talking about having enough coverage or having enough finances to cover for to go sit with Pastor Rick Pringle and say, "Hey, I want to have a service of this caliber. I want to do this. I want to have this kind of casket," and so on and so forth. We're not just talking about that. We're talking about in addition to that, right? So what happens to your house? What happens to your car? What happens, to your assets and so on and so forth? What happens to those things, right? I've seen countless people that have lost everything because they had nothing in place. And I'm gonna tell you, one of the saddest things about insurance is that so many people say, "Oh, I don't think I can afford it. I just don't believe I can afford it." And in a lot of cases, it's so much more affordable than people think. I just had a conversation with someone a few days ago. And when I was giving her some prices, she was like, "Oh my God, I didn't realize it was this cheap." She was thinking some astronomical numbers. And I said, "Listen, unless you're trying to have an astronomical death benefit, it's not as much as you think. It's just a matter of prioritizing your money, prioritizing your funds, and really being intentional about what you want to do, right? Because the last thing you want is for your family member to have to sit down and make your arrangements. And it's all, listen, I've been there, right? We all have been there. We all have been there with our own families, right? Us three personally have all lost our dads, right? So we all have the experience of even losing a parent, right? So it's hard enough to sit there and deal with the hurt and everything else that's going on emotionally because of your loss. But then I got to figure out where I'm gonna get the money from, who I'm gonna call and ask for some money. The funeral is how much? It's $20,000. $20,000. Well, I just want to cremate, and I'll let Pastor Rick get into the pricing. But I just want to cremate. Cremate is cheap. No, it's not cheap.
No, it's not.
And then, well, you want to create, well, can we at least have a viewing before? Okay, no problem. You can do that, but it's gonna cost you this much money. And when you start talking to people and they start, hearing those prices, and it's like, wow, if you would have just taken that step and prioritized over, going and buying the latest shoes or whatever the case may be, just making some sacrifices throughout your life. And a lot of times, again, it's not as expensive as you think, then you could have been in a much better position. Your children, you can put your children in a position to where if you're not here, right, if something happens to you and you're not here, then they can grieve you in peace, right? Because there are some people, and Pastor Rick can speak to this, and you can speak to this as well. Even in the business that you have with the Farewell Agency, which is a phenomenal business, there are people that they can't even grieve in peace because of the finances.
Rick, let me ask you something while you're there, because I typically wasn't going to do it, and I got to learn how to give a shameless plug every now and then.
Mm-hmm.
But I want you to put a pin in what you were speaking about and come back to it. But talk about what you remember about the Farewell Agency. I want you to do two things. Talk about when I talked to you about the Farewell Agency. Talk about your response, and then also talk about why it is necessary to have the Farewell Agency as a support when you're going through your grieving process.
Absolutely. So I'm glad you asked. And the Farewell Agency, when you first told me, we were literally in church, in service. This service was going on. It was toward the end of service. The message had come forth already. And you said to me, you said, bruh, God gave me something. I said, okay. And you told me, and you had the name, and you told me what it was going to, what you was going to do. I said, oh my God. And listen, this is full transparency. Rick, hear me when I say full transparency. I immediately said, man, I need to get in on that. Because and I said to you, kid, at the time, I said, sis, I would love to work with you on that because it's so necessary and needed. And
how long ago was that?
Oh wow.
And while you think about it, I'm just going to say this. I'm asking these questions because I know that I have people who are watching and listening who may not be as strong in their faith as we are, who are trying to figure out, did I hear God? Was it God? It's a crazy idea. Who can I share with? Who can I tell? They already think I'm tripping and all of those things. But what I can tell you is I know that Zuri was small. She's 12 now.
Yeah, I was about to say that this had to be about 10 years ago. Maybe about 10 years ago. This had to be maybe 13, 14, somewhere around there. Because Zuri was a baby at the time. And it was so phenomenal. And the fact that the Farewell Agency can walk you through from start to finish. The fact that the Farewell Agency is an agency that knows a Pastor Rick Pringle, that knows a Pastor Rick Banner, and so many other contacts, right? Because when it comes down to preparing for your loved one and putting them in their final resting place, there's so much involved. I mean, and you don't always think of everything, right? So, for example, when someone pass away, people come to your home to support you, your family, your close friends, and so on and so forth. They come to support you, right? They come to console you and all that. But eventually, at some point, you've got to go talk to Pastor Rick Pringle, right? And then when he sits down with you, he's going to have a lot of stuff he's going to go over with you, all the details and all that kind of thing, whatever case may be. And he is phenomenal, right? And he's going to walk you through every single detail when it comes down to planning that service, right? But there's so much that goes on outside of just the service. And
Paul, I also want to say, and I can speak to this because both of them know that I've worked with many of the funeral homes in the DMV area. And I say this again, because we're using the word transparency. I say this in full transparency, and this is no cap. This is no lie. This is exactly what it is. Rick operates in such excellence.
Absolutely.
If I'm talking about from start to finish, the way he handles. See, what I've seen in this business is some funeral directors see death so much that they see it so much that it's just, come on.
They're numb. They're numb to everything.
Yeah.
Rick handles every I told him about the dog and he almost
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
he
Yeah.
handles every family
No doubt.
with so
No
much
doubt.
compassion and so much care. If you have all the listen, and the excellence that he put into it, he's dressed from head to toe. He ain't,
Absolutely.
and again, this is no shade, but we on my platform, so I'm gonna be honest. His clothes ain't wrinkled. He ain't just wake up and say, I got a job to do and let me just get y'all
Absolutely.
the way to my no. Rick
Absolutely.
was on the hat, the tie, the suits, the shoes, and the gloves.
Absolutely.
When people come to me and say they want to go to Horton, the first thing I say to them, because again, we being honest, do you have some money?
Yeah.
Because you can't go everywhere with $2,000 and $3,000. It's
No.
you can't expect to go to that place and not have it. And guess what? Rick didn't know what I was gonna say on tonight. So whether you go to his place or somebody else, but we being honest, because I can send you somewhere that can do $2,000 worth of work.
But you get what you pay for.
So you're going to get what you pay for. Your loved one may not even be who you think they are, and it might not even be your loved one in the casket, beloved.
That's facts. That's facts.
And that's the absolute truth. So you got to be careful. And so this is why what Pastor Rick B has in place, you should get on the train. And this is absolutely why, because I want to get into, even with Rick, I want to talk about, he said that it's something that he wanted to do as a child. Rick B said, I wanted to be some of the letters. I wanted one of those. He knew what he wanted, but God had a different direction. Listen to me. Everybody knows who's here, because I believe I'm among friends and family until we expand and go bigger, right? And then I just have thousands of people watching. You all know what the Farewell Agency is, and you know what I do. But what I also find is this. They may have a lot of money. They may have a little bit of money, but they'll need so much support and assistance. I'll come in to help, but they don't want to pay. They don't want to pay the Black girl.
No. So let me just interject this real quick. So just to kind of put it in perspective and what you do at the end of the day, like you're saying with Rick is such a person of excellence to every detail, right? And when you're dealing with death, right? Because we're talking about life and death here. When you're dealing with death, the details matter, right?
Yes.
So the fact that you are such a detailed person in the work that you do, the fact that, down to how a person is tucked in, when the casket is closed, down to how the blanket is folded. Every detail, right? Every single detail, it matters, right? It matters. So what you do, sis, is so critical because you can assist people in such a way that when their mind is not even there, or when they have zero knowledge, because you have some people literally, they have not experienced death, right, in their family, literally in their lifetime. I know a family that just had a death in their family about a month ago, and for some of their family members, it was the first time they had experienced it, because everybody was living. The grandmother still, like, everybody's still living. So some of the younger people, they had never experienced it, right? So what if you're a person that's in that situation, but it's on you, right? Or it's on your parent that don't know what to do. The Farewell Agency is in place as an agency that can walk you through from start to finish, that can connect all the dots for you, right? They can connect you to Pastor Rick. They can connect you to someone to sing. They can connect you to someone that knows how to do programs. They can, and to your point, sis, to your point, she can connect you with someone in your range, right? Because everybody's in a different range. We understand that, right? Understand that, but she can find that for you, and you
won't have to leave your house. That's the other thing. You won't have to leave your house. I have seen people grieving, and they be at the mall. I have shopped for the deceased. I have cooked food for the grieved. I have rolled mothers around just to get some air. our motto is making your final goodbyes memorable.
Yes.
How in the
Yes.
world can you remember grandma and how well she was if all you can remember is them people down there messed up my grandma and it was a mess and they was
Absolutely.
doing this and they was
We'll never
fighting?
forget that.
Excuse me, they was doing all kind of stuff. You can't remember grandma the way you need to remember her because you had such a horrible experience. And so, Pastor Rick P, I want you to talk about why you do what you do, how you do what you do, and why is it so important that you remain in this work? Yes, Mom's in the chat. I do aftercare as well. So, because let me tell you something, she is my walking billboard.
Yes, Lord.
Pastor Rick, they are my walking billboards. What is aftercare? Even after your loved ones are in the ground and gone on the street, you will still hear from me. I have so many moms and wives and spouses and children that still reach out to me. And sometimes it's just to still say after years later, I'm still saying thank you. I wish I had more money to give you. Because and let me just say this. When I started the Farewell Agency, I didn't understand grief in the way that it is right now. Because like you said, Rick, some families don't suffer loss like that. I'm in the season right now of grief and it's ending. But when I started the Farewell Agency, I didn't really have a lot of experience. God was the tool. I didn't have the experience, but I knew that he gave it to me because when we needed to bury my cousin Kevin, who is Aunt Loretta's son, who's like my brother, I watched my aunt at that time. She couldn't do it. And my cousin looked at me, who is his big sister, because everybody think I'm the oldest. I'm not the oldest. I'm really like the middle or kind of like the baby. But his big sister looked at me and said, "Oh, you're going to have to do this." And I'm like, "Girl, do what? I don't even know what you're talking about."
Right.
What she knew, she couldn't do it. She didn't have the capacity to mentally do it. Right. So we sat at the table and I said, "Okay, God, I guess I got to do it." My aunt, I should have brought her on as the fourth person. She will tell you, if it wasn't for my niece, I would have lost my mind. She said I didn't have to leave the house. My niece wrote that obituary. She went to the mall shopping. I trusted what she came back with for him to wear. She picked out the colors. She did the whole program. She wasn't selfish. She included this because we do this. She included every cousin who needed to speak. She included everybody. Not one stone was left unturned. And when I heard the kudos from my family, I said, "Oh, I can run and do this now," because they had given me the support I needed. But I didn't have all the tools when God told me, "This what you're going to do." So go ahead, Pastor Rick P.
But I'm going to finish, or I'm going to add to what Rick said. I appreciate the Farewell Agency because you get to go to an extent that we cannot, if that makes sense. Regardless of how compassionate I am for a family or about everything that I do, there's a certain limit where I can go to, simply because, okay, where I am, okay, I'm dealing with 40 families this month alone. So I don't have the capacity to, I'm going to walk you by the hand, but I'm going to walk you by the hand to a certain point. Like if necessary, and if we can, we'll go shopping for you, but you have an agency that can do that. And absolutely. I'm so grateful for that, because this is how I teach. And y'all know I have a military background. So, a lot of the military, I'm a Marine through and through. So a lot of that I
simplify.
Exactly. Simplify. My thing is, and I teach even at work, we all have our lanes. And if you stay in your lane and do what you're supposed to do, then you ain't drifting over nobody else's lane, all the other kind. If I stay in my lane and I do what I'm supposed to do, then I'm effective at serving the families that I'm serving. And I'm grateful that we have these other agencies like yourself who are able to take you and walk you, because, I was just teaching a class today with my staff, and we was talking about the 5 stages of grief. And we have to understand, in dealing in this ministry of compassion and care, you have to understand every client. Can you imagine being in an industry where every client that you deal with number one, they're all dealing with the same thing, and all of their okay, let's put it like this. Let's say if you was just dealing with all of your clients were angry folk.
Mm-hmm.
So like I was teaching my staff today, okay, if we know what the 5 stages of grief: denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and acceptance. If we expect this from a family, this isn't a free license for anybody to take out your frustration on professionals that are trying to serve you. However, if I'm serving from this in this ministry of compassion, I should expect it. And like I taught my staff today, you have to expect that from the people that you're serving, because this is what they're going through. To them, they're at the lowest point of their life, where they feel like a piece of their world has just been ripped away from them. And the last thing that they want to deal with is some short-tempered employee for somebody that you're paying to serve you.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So even if the client comes to us and they're angry, okay, you're supposed to be angry. It's one of the stages. That's why when people, I can't stand, okay, this is the pastor in me. I can't stand when people say, when they, they see people that are grieving and they say, oh, don't cry. Shut up. If you gotta cry, cry.
Yeah, that's it.
If you
Let it out.
roll in the floor, do whatever you got to do to get it out. You don't know my relationship with my mama, so you can't tell me how to grieve. And none of us are going to grieve the exact same way. So you have to
or you haven't gotten over that yet. Right. When they tell you that.
Who are you to tell me when enough crying is enough crying? This lady done spent 54 years married to the exact same man, sleeping with the exact same man every night, and you gonna sit there and tell her 2 months later, girl, you should be over that? Shut up. Sorry, but yes.
No, this is one of them conversations, because people have to understand, if you have, and Ma always says everybody get a turn, God forbid. And yes. I don't want anybody to experience this. I do not. This is rough, right? But remember, when you are sitting with someone who is grieving, be mindful of what you say, because everybody, be mindful what you even say behind their back.
Yeah.
Everybody gets a turn, especially with grief. So you got to be careful. You got to be careful.
Yeah, I'll even go a step further. It's funny because I just had this. We just had a training session right before I got home. So I just, we was talking about how you have to be sensitive to families, because what may trigger, you don't know what's going to trigger them. And if we're right there on the edge, we just waiting on somebody to push me off so I can go off on every last one of y'all. Y'all know the song, Don't Push Me Because I'm Close to the Edge. Yeah. So I was just teaching my staff today, even something so small for the limo drivers, something so small as when the family gets into the limo, you shouldn't have any music playing. Because I'm getting ready to go bury my mama. I'm getting ready to go bury my child, and you got the radio bumping and jamming like this some party or something.
No. Or I've gotten in the car. This just happened at work. We were sitting at work at a just concluded a staff meeting, and one of my coworkers were scrolling TikTok in the song with Brandy and Monica, Though I'm Missing You. I said, please, you have, and I'm so glad that she knew. It's a song that I haven't been able to listen to that song since 98, 2000. Yeah. So you have to know, people don't even realize music is a trigger. When my father passed, the first couple of days, I wanted to listen to the Whispers because I felt connected. Yeah. After we put them in the ground, me and the Whispers disconnected for a couple of days. But guess what I can do now? It's just because, the Whispers have different songs with different melodies. Some are a little upbeat. So I have to be mindful of which song and its rhythm I'm putting on, because it'll take me into a place, right? And I'm not afraid to grieve, but I may not want to grieve that way in that moment, because some songs you put on, it will have you dragging down the walk, and I may not want that, because guess what I do also understand? I still have to tend to other business. Yes. So that they may come on a Saturday why I get up early and say, I'm gonna ride this one out. I ain't got nothing to lose, but you gotta know. And this is what I'm trying to get everybody to understand. Grieve in your own way. Like Quentin said, none of us grieve the same way. We don't, right? Quentin was so close to my father, his grandfather, that losing Draco on Saturday triggered him, because what he was reminded of is that, man, I lost my grandfather who was my absolute best friend. Then I lose Draco, who's the one person, not even human, that made me feel like I was seen every time I came into his home. So it's touchy. And that's why you got to be careful. And I would also say, and I know Mom would agree to this, Bishop Webb would agree to this, therapy and talking it out is so important.
Thank you.
It is so, get some therapy and talk it out, because your hurt matters, your pain matters, your grief matters. And I can promise you, your father, your grandfather, your grandmother, your mother, the people that have gone before you don't want you down, because the Bible says, I wish above all things that you will prosper and be in health, even as your soul prosper. Right. Your loved ones didn't leave and they looking down at you saying, oh no, they don't want your life to fall apart. They want you to get some help because they loved you that much.
And I'll add to this, a lot of people, and I'm glad that we embrace this now, but for years, therapy in the Black culture was no. Therapy is so needed. And some of us, we can be 79 years old, still living with and still battling with the same trauma or even grief from 20 years ago.
Yep.
And here it is, instead of you living your best life for real to the fullest, you sitting there carrying baggage that you're unaware of. And then as soon as something like Yakia was just saying, something comes on and triggers that, then it triggers an emotion that you didn't even know that you had, because you have unresolved grief and trauma and all kind of stuff that you need to go and talk it out. I tell my church all the time. Matter of fact, I tell them that I'm going to start putting in the bulletin, saints, take your prescriptions. Take your medicine. Because I believe that the saints need two things. Ask me what they are.
What is it, bro?
I'm glad you asked. Prayers and prescriptions.
Prayer and prescription.
Prayer and prescription.
Somebody write that in the chat. The saints need two things: prayer and prescriptions.
Listen,
I need to post that.
Listen, I'm all about.
Let me tell you. I got both. Listen, I told them and we laughed about it. When James checked up out of here, I said, guess what? Guess what you're not going to do? Mm-hmm. You will not have me down here twiddling my fingers and no, I went straight to the doctor. Yeah. The same medicine the doctor tried to give me a couple of years ago, I said, I ain't want. Excuse me, sir. Doctor, you think you can reissue and at a stronger dose?
Increase my strength.
I had to reconsider.
I mean, but see, that's the stuff that a lot of preachers and pastors and churches, they don't talk about it. They tell you, talk to God. God is saying, yes, talk to me and your therapist, please.
Yeah.
They just don't discuss it. And for me, very personal moment, when we buried Uncle Anthony, who is, my grandmother had 4 boys and 1 girl being my mother. Uncle Anthony was the baby. Mm-hmm. When we buried Uncle Anthony, before burying Uncle Anthony, Grandma was in good health. When we buried Uncle Anthony, when I tell you, she went downhill so fast, because grief will mess you up. But what Grandma also didn't do, she wouldn't talk about the effect that the death had on her. We dealing with that generation of mothers who believe and trust God for everything. They didn't believe in talking about it and worrying about it. They didn't believe in that. They did their devotion. They had a way of handling things, and we thank God for that, because it kept them here, and they taught us a lot that we know. Grandma went downhill so fast, and what confirmed it for me, was her sister saying she just wasn't right after Anthony. She just, you know, and Uncle Anthony exposed her to the world, exposed her to flying, and but grandma had been more places than I had ever been. True story. And so we watch, if you don't deal with the grief will deal with you.
It will. Yes, it will. It will have its way with you.
Yeah.
And at the end of it, you will be a mess. But let me go back to what we were saying about spiritual leaders. I think if we are going to pastor people, we have to get to the point where we're giving them the instructions that it is okay to get professional help. Not just for therapy, but in all things. There is no reason why all of the churches, anybody that's a leader of people, why we're not having seminars where they can bring all three of us in, so that we, not just us, but have some, you know, a whole get your house in order type thing. Not just us, somebody that does living wills, trust, all that other kind of stuff, and explaining, even with life insurance, where you come in and explain with life insurance, okay, there is a contestable period. And then, you know, after that, during the contestable period, the insurance company, you know, how they act, so that when they come to the funeral home and they see somebody like me and they find out, okay, well, okay, here it just happened. Matter of fact, this week, I had a family come in, they had a nice insurance policy. However, their loved one passed 10 days before the policy became 2 years old. So unfortunately, because of, you know, our policies and our procedures, unfortunately, we were unable to accept the life insurance policy. We can't take an assignment out on it because our third party who pays for the funerals up front, they won't accept it because it's contestable. And y'all know insurance companies sometimes will try to get, sometimes, most of the times, they will try to get out of paying if they possibly can. So if we only got to pay you these premiums, okay, that's what we're going to do. But see, if we're educating our folk, then they know. And then they understand the importance. Don't wait until Big Mama gets sick to get life insurance.
Absolutely. It's you know, it's definitely, you know, it's an unfortunate, again, mindset that people have. You know, that they do not prioritize it. And something you said, bruh, and I want to kind of go back to when you're talking about, you know, you saying about, you know, therapists and Rick, you saying, you know, people needing prescriptions, and being able to talk to someone that is licensed to handle that. I want to bring that up as well. We are licensed professionals.
Right.
You know, I was talking to a friend of mine the other day, and he's a CPA, and he had a situation going on, and I was talking to him, just kind of giving him some encouragement. And I told him, I said, listen, you know, as a licensed professional, I'm licensed through the state. And so my license means something, right? I have invested in this profession. So even for the people that are out there, whether it is on the financial services side of things, whether it's on the funeral service side, understand that we are licensed professionals. We're not just talking to you, or we're not just up here, you know, off the cuff, you know, basically, you know, expressing what we think or what may work and so on and so forth. No, we're actually licensed professionals. Just like you go to a licensed therapist or a licensed doctor, that's someone who has put the time in to study that craft, and to be able to serve you in that particular capacity. So it's so important that, you know, you reach out. The Farewell Agency, she is a certified business owner. She's certified to do what she does, right? It's not just the thought she had, but she took the next step, right?
It's not a hobby.
Exactly. You know, she took the next step and actually opened a business, right? So I just think that's so important, bro. You know, for people to understand who you're dealing with. And sometimes people know you and people know me, people know all of us, you know, but it's not just me, you know, personally, but this is also me professionally.
Yeah.
And you know, in a different capacity. So I think it's critically important, just like for us being pastors. It's not just the people that know us as a friend or a brother or somebody we, you know, no, that's a different capacity,
Yep.
right? When we serve as a man of God, as a woman of God, we're serving in a different capacity. It's still me. I'm still Ricky Banner. It's still me. I'm still Deborah's child, but I'm in a different capacity. And I think that that's so critical for people to understand and to respect that, right? To respect the fact that you know, we serve different roles at different times, but it's important to understand, you know, because sometimes when I've talked to people, and you know, and I had to say to them, "Hey, listen, I'm not just saying this to you because I know you. I'm saying this to you from a professional standpoint, you know." And sometimes I've had people say, "Oh, yeah, you know, okay." It just it puts their mind into a different place, you know, that again, you know, like we all kind of talked about our stories. We all got our own stories of how we've been affected by death, right? So wherever you fall, you know, for the people that's watching, wherever you fall, you know, whether it is getting yourself prepared financially to make sure that you set up or what have you, like Rick was talking about, having, you know, trust and different things like that. Wherever you fall, just get your business taken care of. Because I'm telling you, the last thing you want is to be sitting around and trying to figure it out. I promise you. It is so much better when you can go to that envelope and you can pull that envelope out and boom, everything is there. It's taken care of. You don't have no worries. That's where you want to be.
And the other thing that you got to prepare yourself for is, because I've seen families experience this, the public embarrassment.
Yeah.
Of not being prepared. Because see, I want to go as deep as I can tonight. There's an embarrassment that I have seen families experience that is unmatched. I mean, and then you have to do a GoFundMe, and now you have this public humiliation because let me tell you what they say. Let me tell you what they say. Ain't no way they got a GoFundMe for Keisha Ray and John Brown, and those two individuals was living a high life. And this is what, and that may not, but this is what people say. They don't let you live it down. And that also makes them say, I'm not giving them a dime.
Absolutely.
So you also got to know, and Rick know this, Rick Pringle know this. If you, this is for free, because we wasn't even going to talk about the farewell agency tonight. When your loved one passes away,
I was going to bring it up.
When your loved one passes away, let me just give you this real quick because I think a lot of people don't know. You have a choice to have an insurance policy. That's one. You don't have an insurance policy, you got two other options. If you're a DC resident, I'm specifically talking about DC residents. If it was a homicide, it's because I want to educate you, because I'm an educator and I'm a student. If it was a homicide, you might get crime victims if your person or your loved one wasn't the aggressor and wasn't found with drugs and guns or whatever, right? You'll get up to $10,000. Up to $10,000. That doesn't mean that everything that you want is going to be covered. Keep that in mind. Secondly, it's not a homicide. Granddaddy suffered a heart attack. We found him in a bed. What we supposed to do? Can DC help? Oh, let's talk about it. No, I want the 13 people listening to hear me and share it. Share this information because you know a lot of people ain't got no insurance. So you need to let them know that this is what's going on, because it ain't nothing worse than being caught out in the street looking crazy and trying to bury a loved one.
No doubt
They done
about
found granddaddy in the house, suffered a heart attack, stroke, something of the sort. You want DC to help. So you say, you call me directly. Oh, we need money. Oh, granddad didn't have no policy, or they lost the policy, or so they tell you all kind of stuff. They lost it. We can't find it, whatever. But for real, granddad did, and this granddad didn't have a policy. So you want to go to Department of Human Services. Hear me. The teacher is teaching. You want to go to Department of Human Services, but beloved, do your homework. You can do it tonight. Go on departmentofhumanservices.com, DHS.gov. I don't know what it is because I don't work there, but go there, put in Google DHS, DC. When you go to their website, it's going to say funeral and burial assistance. So you think you have won. You think you got a ticket, and you think you are free to go. You think that you got the green light to go. But baby, let me just tell you something. You got one vendor on that list. Not 5 and 6 like it used to be, not 15. Because Rick, you remember it was more people on that list. It used to be
12, yeah. Mm-hmm, yeah.
Ain't no 12, baby. Remove the 2. It's one person on that list that you have to use if you want DHS money, but that ain't even it though. So say you say, okay, I'll use the one person. And you ain't getting that. You ain't having no service for $1,000. You ain't having, because that's all you're going to get. You ain't having no service for $1,500. I felt bad for the funeral homes that was even on the list because I said, oh, y'all jokers ain't getting no money doing this. Mm-hmm. So now you have one vendor on the list. So let me, y'all be mindful that right now it's not too late. Those moms who got little kids at home, and those of you that got teenagers, and those of you that are in good health, and even if you're not, there's a policy for everybody. You may not be able to get the amount of money that you would want, but start somewhere. If you can get a 5, my mother and my father specifically said, listen, anything happen to us, burn out, you know what up, and if there's anything left, do what you want with it. My mother said, I don't want to be in nobody. So some people will have that option. Some families will tell you what they want, but then you also got a family that's going to say, oh, lay me out, drape me, make me fly. You don't have a quarter. You don't have a dime. You don't have a dime living. Mm-hmm. And surely we know you ain't gonna have a dime dead. So now you want to play big. But this is I'm telling you, these things absolute. Y'all ain't gotta be quiet in the chat. Say something. I know. I sit with people every day, and it saddens me to know that this mother got to opt for cremation because she don't have no money. She wasn't in the street, right? It's sad to know that these grandkids, the only option they have is to cremate grandma. And God forbid, don't let it happen in Merlin, because Merlin going to tell you, come and get this person from out of the morgue before we use their body for science.
48 hours.
But guess what? But so you done heard what Pastor Rick said. You done heard from Pastor Pringle. And I'm going to say it like this because it's their business and it ain't mine. Get you some life insurance today. I'm telling you, they don't have a dime living. They don't have a dime. Y'all know, that's why I love to be on my own platform, because I ain't no preacher. They don't have a dime living.
You are a preacher. That's a whole nother, that's another podcast. But no, you are a preacher.
Ain't it funny how we both instantly...
I know. Yeah, you're right, bro. Yeah, we corrected that real quick.
Yes, you are. But let me jump on this and say this. If you fail to plan,
you plan to
fail.
You
are planning to fail.
Absolutely.
And another thing is we have to teach our folk this. Some cultures, this is what they pass down.
Yes.
Unfortunately, it's not a practice of ours.
No.
Most definitely in today's society. Do you really understand that you can have an insurance policy for the same amount of money that you spend on Starbucks coffee every month?
Yes. Yes.
Something so small. You can just take a little piece of this, but we want to, it's all about priorities. And then
That's it.
even okay, I'll go even a step further. It's funny how okay, we get to the death and the burial of a loved one. We don't have money to put them away. We got to GoFundMe. We can't afford the funeral, like you were saying earlier, Yakia. You can't afford the funeral, but yet we're gonna go out there to Neiman Marcus and whatever.
Oh, they gonna buy the fit first. They gonna buy the outfit first. They gonna buy the shoes first and don't even know he ain't got no whole couch. What you get shoes for?
You can't see them. But you spending $500-600 on a pair of shoes that you want me to put on somebody that you really couldn't even afford to burn. Where are our priorities?
Bruh, listen.
Where
What
are
you
our
said
priorities? For
what
something so small, if we would have just planned right.
bruh, what you just said
Go ahead, Pastor B.
is so critical. I just want to back up what you just said. Because you use Starbucks as an example. I want to back you up 1,000% on that. Just today, no, yesterday, I'm sorry. Yesterday and the day before, me and my wife went to Starbucks. Today, dropped my son off at school. I said, we're not going today. No. we're not going today. No, not today. You know what I mean? So, but this week, right, in the 2 times I've been, this week, I don't know what the total, I think the first day, the total may have been 18 something. The next day, it may have been 15. So we didn't get a whole bunch of stuff, but we've spent at least $25 this week. At least 25, maybe close to 30 this week. So to your point, even at $20 or $25, you're looking at anywhere from $80 to $100 to $120 a month on Starbucks.
How often is life insurance paid, Pastor Rick?
Once a month.
Once a month.
Once a month.
At about how many dollars? Let's say if you starting out kind of small, about how much can a policy run someone who say they want about $15,000?
So it all depends. You know, it's hard. Okay. It's hard with life insurance to really kind of give you someone a ballpark without knowing what their situation is. But okay. I will say this though. I will say this. You know, there are people out here that have small policies. I had a client today, literally today, who's looking for a little bit more insurance. She has a current policy that she's had for a few years, but it's only $17,000. She's right in DC. And she told me, she said, Rick, she said, I just really want to add about 10,000. I want to have at least 25,000. So she's only looking for something small, about $10,000, right? So you can get something if you just want the bare minimum, right? Or you know, in terms of affordability, you can only afford the bare minimum. Then we can get something for you. It may not be able to cover everything, right? Depending on where you are. And this particular person, they were on a fixed income, right? She's on a fixed income. She only has a certain amount of money she can afford to pay each month. And with her situation, with her age, your age matters, right? So I will encourage people, especially people that are younger, you want to get into a policy immediately. As soon as you can, especially when you're young. If your kids are young, right, get them a policy immediately. I had a client a few weeks ago, actually a prospect rather, because she never went through with it. But she asked me, she was looking for a quote for her children, and her children were in their early 20s. And literally for all 3 children, she could have them covered for less than $100. Whole life policy. So for each child, it was like, one was like 32, one was like 29, one was I think 27 or 26, something like that. And that was roughly, I believe I want to say it was around 200,000 on each policy, right? So if you get it when you're young and it lasts for your entire life, then your premium is locked in. So you pay that price for your entire life. If you're a little bit older, right? So the dynamics change, of course. The dynamics change. If you are a smoker, that changes your rate, right? But to the point that you made, Yukia, you may not be able to get as much as you want for the price, but you can get something.
Okay.
So again, if you only need $15,000 worth, okay, that's great. Let's get you something, right? If you call me and you say, "Hey, Rick, listen, I can only afford $50 a month," then we'll work it up. We'll put your information in, see where you are, and tell you exactly what you can afford. I mean,
Okay.
exactly rather what you can have for $50 a month. If you want to go according to the policy amount, the face amount, I want 50,000 or 100,000 or I want $1 million. Then we can go from there. But if you're really a person that's in a position where financially you only have a certain amount and you know exactly what that limit is, then let's get it done.
Got it. I do have a question. And I'm sure someone in the chat probably has the same question. Will they do a physical? Are physicals done? Are they needed? Are they necessary? How does that work?
So depending on the policy. Some policies require physicals, some policies don't. For a lot of policies that are considered final expense policies, which basically cover your funeral coverage, those types of policies don't require medical. There are some minimal medical questions that will be asked in those situations, but you will not have to go through a physical where you have blood drawn, and things like that. There'll be some basic questions asked in those situations, and normally those are normally capped at anywhere from 40 to 50,000, depending upon, again, the person's age, their particular age and particular amount that they're looking for. Now, if it's someone that has, for example, high blood pressure. I use high blood pressure because a lot of people are on medication for high blood pressure. High blood pressure is, unfortunately, it's so common that when it comes down to life insurance policies, I have not seen that yet where someone is denied or anything because of high blood pressure. It is so common that it's almost like a normal thing, right? When it comes down to insurance. So if you have high blood pressure, you can be insured, even with the number of sicknesses and diseases and things like that. Excuse me, in your background, you can still have insurance. We can get you day one coverage. You can get approved and you can get covered from day one. So there are a myriad of options for people, whether you are on the lower end of income or whether you're on the higher end. You can get coverage. Most policies, you can get coverage from age 0 to 85. So from newborn all the way up to 85 years old, you can get coverage for people. So even if you have a mom or dad, that you're trying to get covered and you say, well, my father's 72, 73 years old. I had a client last week I was working with, and their mom, I believe she was 72 years old. They wanted to get some coverage, up to 85 years old, you can be covered. So chronic diseases, hypertension, diabetes, those types of things. Again, now hypertension is really along the lines of high blood pressure. Diabetes is a little bit of a different dynamic depending on where you are in terms of your diabetes. But again, that's something that we can get into more detail about on a case-by-case basis for the individual. But again, I will tell you, there are very minimal. There's a minimal amount of cases where people just can't get coverage.
Yeah.
Most people can get coverage.
We have a question in the chat. Can you borrow money from your whole life? That's one question. And the second is a request for you to put your information in the chat. How can they find you? I want you to put several things in the chat. How can they find you as it relates to insurance policies and coverage? And also, how can they find you on Sunday mornings? That's for you, Pastor B, first. So answer that question. Can you from whole life?
So yes, so we do have whole life policies where you can take loans out and borrow from whole life policies. Absolutely. We do have those policies. And let me just kind of interject this as well. So again, I understand completely that people are on different spectrums in terms of income and what have you. But wherever you fall, we have something that works for you. Trust me, we have something that works for you. But I will say this for some people that are financially in a position, because whole life is more cost than term life. Whole life, there are a lot of whole life policies. Well, number one, it lasts your whole life, right? So it's not for a term of time. So a whole life policy is your whole life. Most whole life policies go up to age 100 or 120, but it lasts you for your whole life. So they're expecting you not to outlive the policy. So it's going to be a little bit more money versus a term policy. It could be a 10, 20, or 30-year term policy. So it's only for that term of time. Term policies, they give you more bang for your buck, so you can get a cheaper monthly premium and you can have a higher death benefit, because what the insurance company is believing and hoping, right, is that you will outlive the term, right? So they're hoping. So if you get a term policy, for example, I had a client who said, hey, I just want to get a term policy right now. I said, how much do you want? $500,000. Okay, cool. Got you. Got him a term policy for $500,000 and did a 30-year term on it. And he was, I think he's 42 years old. He's 42. So his term is 30 years. It'll last until he's 72. So what the insurance company is hoping is that he'll live until he's 82, right? They're hoping that he outlives that and they won't have to pay out that $500,000, right? So a term policy for people that are younger, right? I've got a client who I actually going to meet with tomorrow, just did a policy for, going to get some paperwork for him tomorrow. He is 21 or 22, term policy, $200,000. And it's costing him 58, 59 bucks, something like that. And he's tobacco. He's tobacco, so he smokes.
Yes.
If he wasn't tobacco, he's looking at probably 10 to 12, 13 bucks cheaper than that, right? So he could get a policy that's 40 something dollars if he doesn't smoke. So
that's less than Starbucks.
That's less than Starbucks. Exactly. So just to kind of give people some context. So again, a whole life policy. We do have whole life policies with cash value attached to them. And I'll be more than happy as I give you my information to help you to navigate through that. But we do have whole life policies with cash value attached. We have term life policies as well. And let me throw this in here. Term life. Now, we have certain policies, if you qualify, that have what we call a return of premium, where it costs you a little bit more money, right? But it's a term for normally a 10 or 20-year term. But after the end of that term, if you outlive that term, right, then you get back a big portion of the premiums. And that's another thing. It's called return of premium. Again, I can get into details with people on a case-by-case basis, but that's an option as well for people that may be younger, that may be in a position where they can afford that. And they say, well, I want to do some term life for right now. I want to do something whole life later on. Or you can get into a term where maybe in the 10 years time, you get the return of premium, you get $100,000 back, right? I've helped clients and set people up on these types of policies, right? Where at the end of 10 years, if they outlive it, their death benefit may be $200,000 or $300,000, but if they outlive it, they'll get back $100,000, right? So you have those types of things. Now on Sundays, we worship at 2 p.m. Living Rivers Ministries.
Yes. Bishop added that information in the chat about the church location, but I wanted you to ask this question. Conversations with Q said, for the guys in the streets, what is step one for them to get life insurance?
Call me 202-505-4605.
Say the number again, Quentin. Write the number down and pass the number along. And when you pass the number along, follow up with them if you got to do a 3-way call to make sure that they are calling, because they have to have life insurance. Many of these guys, and I'm not sending anybody away early, but many of them have children, and so we want to set them up right, because many of them will not die in the street. Many of them will grow old and they'll have something to leave to their children. So Rick, what's the number again?
202-505-4605. And I'm going to put this in the chat myself right now. Also, you can go to my social media page, IG Supero, SUPERO Financial Group. You can go to my Facebook page. You can go to my IG. You can follow me there. My information is on there. And I'm going to put this in here right now. I think I'm doing this correctly. Should be there in the chat. I put it in the chat, Yakia, but
so what I'm gonna do, I see
wrong way.
Private chat. No, it's in the private chat. But what I can do is
I put mine on the YouTube chat.
Yeah, let me see. I'm doing something wrong.
No, just go.
Oh, let me join the chat. Let me join the chat. Okay. Let me join the chat, and then I can
And then Bishop got your back too. If she said she put it up. So add his phone number in also. And while she's doing that, Pastor Rick Pringle, I know you wanted to speak too, but I had a question for you.
Mm-hmm.
With Horton's Funeral Home, what is the low end? And we're talking about, well, I'm gonna ask you a couple questions. One, what's the low end if a person is saying, I just want to do direct cremation?
Our direct cremations start at $38.45.
And direct cremation means what? What is direct cremation?
Pick up from the hospital or wherever you died, take you to the crematory directly. You be cremated, pick up your ashes and paperwork. $38.45. Okay.
That is direct cremation. What is a cost? And this can vary because we know everything is a la carte a lot of times where they can add on. What is a cost if a person comes in and says, hey, I have a policy. I have a very small policy. I want to do something for my mom, for my dad. We want to do a service, with casket. And we want to do a burial. And and I know burial can sometimes be just as expensive as everything else. Mm-hmm. So I'm asking on the low end and on the high end for both for burial, what does that look like?
So, like I said, direct cremation starting at about $38.45. If you want a cremation with a service, you're looking at anywhere between. Okay, I'll start with our package. Our package is for cremation and a funeral service, which comes with an actual funeral service. You picked up, you're embalmed, you have an actual funeral service, and then afterwards you're cremated with the urn and all included. Our basic services for that start at about $6,000 something.
And this is having the body at the church. Mm-hmm. With a service. Okay. Mm-hmm. And after that,
and then cremated. So now once you get to talking about actual burial, then that's something totally different. Shameless plug right here, by the way. Horton Funeral Home also owns Chesapeake Highland Memorial Gardens, which is a cemetery with 98 acres in Port Republic, Maryland. We're actually getting ready to, we're making plans to break ground on our next location and crematory, because cremations are the way that people are going to be opening on that location very soon. Shameless plug. So it all depends on you. That's the low end. Now, whatever you can think of is the high end. So like if we talk about, okay, so like I've pre-planned my service. My service. And because I am me and y'all know me, I'm extra. So I pre-planned my services, 3-day service with a musical, all that other good stuff included. I got 3 outfit changes and 2 casket changes.
You got a lot of money too. You got a lot of money too. You over there stressing them people out and you ain't even gone yet.
Listen, if I did it in life, and look, on top of that, I still got a huge chunk left behind for my wife.
Thank you, Jesus.
Okay.
Yeah. So, and even to the point where, like, when even she and I discuss it, because I told you, you got to have a plan in place. Even when we discuss it, there is no question about the stupid amount of money that I'm spending on my homegoing because I did my due diligence to leave a nice chunk, not just for her. Y'all know how I am with my family. You got there's money left for her, our children, my mama, my grandmother. I got 21 nieces and nephews. That is my beneficiary responsibility to give a check to each and every one of them.
That's right. That's right.
The Bible says what? You leave an inheritance for who?
To your children's children. And so those of you that are listening in the chat, this information is so rich because you don't oftentimes hear these conversations being had by Black people.
Right.
You don't hear them. We always at the bottom of the totem pole. They always say we're not prepared. We're speaking from a point of education, professionalism, wisdom. We understand. And let me just also say this. We ain't always have it this way. I wanted to start with that. We haven't always been in the place that we all come from, Southeast, Northeast, in a struggle, trying to figure out. Rick was raised by a single mother. So, you know, but we just looking at what God has done in our lives and have put us in place. If it's if it's the kind of person I'm gonna listen to, it's not just the person with influence, it's also the person with experience.
There you go. Absolutely.
It's also the person with experience, because you can talk to me all day, and I'm gonna ask you, I'm gonna be looking for your fruit, and I'm gonna ask you, slide your papers across the table. Let me see what you've done. Because in this season of my life, I don't have time to just be taking your word for it. No, let me vet you. I gotta ask somebody, what's up with so-and-so? What you know about so-and-so?
Just because you created an Instagram and you want anybody, listen, you Instagram famous.
You're an influencer on Instagram, but out here, your name ain't that good, love. I have a question in the chat for you, Pastor Rick P. from Conversations with Q. What's the requirement when a family comes with money off the record books? I think, Quentin, are you asking just straight cash? Or are you saying they don't have a policy? I think he's saying if they come in with just cash, y'all take cash.
Listen, let me tell you this. So Horton Funeral Home is an international funeral home. We deal with multiple cultures and we're constantly shipping internationally. So we constantly have people being buried here and being shipped to all different kind of countries. We even have an Hispanic funeral service within our funeral service. We even have an African community liaison who deals with our African communities. And let me tell you something about the African community. They pay cash, no policies, hardly ever. They pay hard, good, straight cash. And we'll say it like this. In God we trust, all others pay cash. We'll take it. We'll take it, and a good cashier's check. Those are our two favorites.
Okay.
Actually, to be honest, we actually prefer them over insurance policies because, okay, so let me tell you the back end. Insurance
policy gets paid up front.
There you go. And on an insurance policy, when you come to us, because we have another party that pays for the funeral up front, because, you know, you have to wait the time for the processing, all that other kind of stuff. You ain't got that time. So there's another party that pays for the funeral up front, but out of the insurance policy, once they take an assignment on it, they have to take a portion out for themselves, of course, because this is a business. So
this is a what? This is a what?
Business.
It's a what?
Business.
And it costs what to run a business?
Money.
Yeah.
Cash.
Would they say money rules everything around me?
So you gotta pay. You have to be willing to pay how you play. When you wearing them big pants, you have to be willing to pay the cost to be the boss. When it comes time for funerals, You don't have time to be saying I ain't got. And I'm not bragging, because guess what? My son is here, my niece is here, my husband's listening. When it came time to bury loved ones, I was not ripping and running around saying, give me. Guess what I knew I had to do? Get it done. And if they give me something, I just replaced it. But I also knew that I wanted them to be buried and laid down with dignity, because my name is attached to all of that. And people watching me, right, and saying, oh, I can't believe. No, you not going to get me in those. So we got to remember, it's so many facets and so many pockets when you're dealing with grief and death and not being prepared. Is nothing worse than being embarrassed, and you had the money and you couldn't. You had the money, you had the job, and you did not set something aside to bury your loved one. That something is wrong.
Or let me help you, like I addressed earlier. Or if you waited too late to get insurance. I feel so sorry for the families, just like I told you I dealt with this week. You feel so sorry for a family when they bring your insurance policy. They don't plan this grand elaborate funeral, and then once you go verify the insurance policy, they say it's contestable.
So in the case that, Rick, what happened? Because and I'm feeling the family pain, and I didn't even know him.
Yeah, and I listen. That's the worst news you ever have to give anyone. So at the end of the day, after that, you have to pay out of pocket, which is a burden to the family.
Yes,
and then knowing our culture, most of us don't have thousands and thousands of dollars laying up in the savings account.
The other thing I think we all have seen is when you have it, your loved one or you, whoever's in charge of the estate or the decedent, you have it all written out how you want it to go. But here's the thing: you have it written out on how you want it to go, but you don't have no numbers next to those line items. So you go and sit with Pastor Rick, and all you have is $12,000, and you're saying, "Hey, I got this for Horton, but we want to go to Harmony."
Baby,
close to $11,000-$12,000, love, and now that's what happens. You got to start chiseling stuff down off the list, and you might end up having to cremate mom and them, or go all the way down Heritage.
And let's make this clear. Harmony is requiring their money at least 72 hours before the service, so they ain't even going to dig.
You won't come through that gate. You won't get that gate.
You're not even going to dig a hole. And then people come to us because we're not educating our folk. They come to us and they complain to us as if this is outrageous, but they don't understand that the funeral home and the cemetery have absolutely nothing to do with each other.
Yes, completely separate.
Nothing to do with each other. We prepare the body. They bury the body.
Absolutely.
So that's two separate bills.
Absolutely.
And even with that, if you're paying through insurance, with the funeral home, and then you're paying through insurance at the cemetery, guess what's happening both times? You paying a fee on both of those times that you're using your insurance policy.
Yep. Absolutely.
I'm so glad we was able to take people to school tonight. This this stuff you can't pay for. But then again, yes, you can. Yeah, you can pay, and somebody can tell you all this, but you are listening to it from 3 different perspectives. Why you gotta have the insurance, why the insurance is important. If you ain't got the insurance, this is all you and when you ain't got the money, you want, you really don't even have a say-so with nothing.
No doubt. And what we like to say with insurance, right? The beauty of insurance is that you can use OPM, other people's money, right? Because again, when you got to dig in your nest egg, and you may have enough money to cover it, right? You may have enough money to cover it. But I don't know what you do. I don't know how long it took you to build that nest egg. I don't know how long it took you to build that savings up, or what have you. But I can tell you one thing. I told y'all that this morning. I said, "Oh no, we're not going to Starbucks today." I ain't had to dig in my savings for it, but I ain't even want it coming out of my checking. Right? So, if you got to take 20,000 out at a time, 25, 30,000 out at one time, because I mean, it's people nowadays, and I mean, we all know this. It's people nowadays when you, like you said, you talking about start cutting stuff. People cutting out the repast. Oh, I can't have repast because they didn't think about how much it's gonna cost to get the food. And we're gonna have 100, 200 people, and you want to feed the people, right? Even if you feed them one plate, right? It's gonna cost money. Food costs money. Who gonna cook the food? Is the family gonna cook the food? Can the people really cook? Y'all know y'all don't want to go some of y'all own family house right now because they don't know how to cook, right?
Let me jump in 1 second, Pastor Rick.
Yes, sir.
The pandemic has taught us new ways to have funerals.
Yeah.
The pandemic showed us that repasts aren't required.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because during the pandemic, we weren't allowed to have repasts.
Yep.
So true.
And guess what happened? We got through it.
We got through it.
So
No
now
doubt.
there are people that are
Millions
still
of people
carrying.
buried. We got through it. There were even
Yes.
times where I think, Rick, wasn't people having funerals and maybe 5 or 6 people can only come.
Only, yep. And that's a matter of fact. Let me touch on that. That was so heartbreaking during the pandemic.
Yeah,
We
it was.
served a lady that had 13 children. Only 10 of her children were allowed to attend her own funeral.
Yeah. Yeah. That's tough. That's really tough. I mean, you know what? That's like, when you think about something like that, like during the pandemic, you know how when people graduate from like college, sometimes they have limited amount of invitations.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And they want all their family to be there. They got a lot of family, and they only have 5 invitations though. And people are like, "Oh my God, I wanted to be there."
I can't believe.
Imagine that with someone's death.
Yep.
This is the last time you can see them.
Hope, your mother.
Yeah.
So imagine which family member has to sit there and pick out which one of her children not coming to the service.
Exactly. I mean, that's that's
and another thing. See, we talking about when it's a funeral that is being planned, you have to consider the funeral home, their costs, all the things that'll come with it, because you got to put them in a casket. Where you putting them at? They got to go in a casket.
Mm-hmm.
People want family cars. You don't just want the family car. You want the Rolls Royce. You want the new one. You want all that stuff. You want Rick to pull all that stuff out. You don't just want. You don't want Heritage. I don't want my baby all the way down there. You have to have what's the one we were just talking about? The cemetery we were talking about.
Harmony.
Harmony.
You got to have Harmony, right? You got to have Lincoln. Then people want their money off the top. You got to have a repass.
7,000 going in the gate.
You got to have a repass with the marble floors. You have to have all of that stuff. Yeah. But wait a minute. You got to pay the church because you want to get a big church and the church is so big. And wait a minute. And I'm not talking about nobody. I'm not shading them, but you want to use these churches. The people weren't members and they wasn't this. And you want the church for free. And let me just say this. I would say this if I was a Christian, or if I wasn't, I would say this. Either way, the church don't have to let you come into nowhere for free. It takes to run a church. You got to turn the lights on. So you cannot get mad because all the churches around the city are saying, oh, they charge me $500. They charge me $600. Well, you had the money. You put it on their feet. But go ahead.
That's it. No,
you got money. You put it in the Sprinter.
I'm with you. I concur, and I just want to say this. I see the comment.
And you gotta pay the preacher and the preacher. You have to pay the preacher because you know what? John was not saved, so we gotta have a preacher that'll come and speak well over him, and he or she got to sit with the family and try to get something good out of him that he done. These are real stories that we have.
Yep.
No
the
doubt
preacher
about
is free.
No doubt. It's real stories. It's real life. And I see some comments up here. Listen, my number is 202-505-4605. Call me, text me, reach out, check out my social media pages on Facebook and IG, Supero, SSUPERO, Financial Group. Reach out immediately. And to the point, I just want to kind of piggyback on what Pastor Rick was saying about the family that was 10 days out. I'm telling you, it's crushing. It's crushing. And the longer you wait, right? Literally. So think about that. We're doing this today. It's February 22nd. You can call me tomorrow, right? You can call me tomorrow and we can get you something in place tomorrow. Imagine if something were to happen 2 years from now, right? And it was to happen on, say, March the 10th, right? So you were 15 days out, and your family, like you could have had coverage, right? So it's literally, someone asked me that question before. Well, I mean, would it be okay if I wait for a couple of weeks? I said, well, I mean, that's up to you, right? That's your decision. But in this particular business, time is of the essence. It's not about us trying to make money or us trying to hurry up and put your name on any dotted line. It's about you having that coverage and about you being in a position and your family being in a position to use other people's money and not to try to use your money, dig in your savings account or call grandma or see if they can put up 1,000. Can they put up 500? You got to get yourself covered. So for Quentin, and let me just interject this as well. This is another piece of what I do, in addition to just term or whole life insurance. For some of you all out there, some of you all are in a position financially. Some of you all have children, or some of you in a position financially where you can put up a substantial amount of money every month, right? To work towards your retirement, to work towards, putting away something. So when you decide, okay, it's time for me to hang it up and I don't want to go to work every day, we have options out there for you too that are tied into insurance policies. The tax code, this is critical information here. The tax code is written, we know, for the wealthy. The tax code is written so that the wealthiest people can shelter their money, that they can pay the least amount of taxes, and that they can grow their money without having to be taxed on it. That's what the tax code is written for. This is the reason why, hear me clearly, people. This is the reason why Donald Trump said what he said when he ran for president back in 2015 or 16, whatever it was, when he first ran for president. And he said this, excuse me, when he first ran, he said, sure, when there was all this fuss about did he really have this major tax write-off and that was almost $1 billion and how in the world did he do that and so on and so forth. And he said it on the platform. He said it openly. He said, yeah, sure, I did it. I didn't pay taxes because I was smart, because I understand the tax code. So, and he said, if you don't like what I did, change the tax code. That's what he said, right? But this is what he said to Hillary Clinton. He said, but he said, y'all not going to change it because your donors, the billionaires that are donating money, they're benefiting from the same tax code. So let me say this to you, people that are listening, that are in a position to do something, right? The Quintons of the world. Quentin, you're a phenomenal young man. You're in a great position. You have a great job. As a young person, you can build something for your future that protects you through the tax code by attaching your savings to an insurance policy. We offer the only product in the market, in the financial services industry. We offer the only product that'll protect your money from the downside, the downfall of the market. When the market goes down, which it will, the market goes up and down, up and down. That's the nature of it. That's how it works, right? When your money is in the market, it's a risk, right? Because you can win some and you can lose some. The insurance industry is the only business that offers you downside protection, and it's through an insurance policy. Guess what? Ray Kroc, McDonald's, he founded McDonald's. Ray Kroc, part of a major portion of the money he needed and he used and he acquired to start McDonald's was from his insurance policy. Walt Disney, a major part of the money that Walt Disney needed to start his dream was through his insurance policy. The Rockefeller family, everything they do, every time someone is born, they institute another policy, right? This is how they funnel their money. This is how they shelter their money. This is how they grow their money and then access their money tax-free. It's different from your TSP. It's different from your 401k. It's different from your 457, your 403b, and all of those different vehicles. You can grow your money and you can access your money tax free, but you have to do it according to IRS tax code 7702. You can look it up in your spare time. You have to do it by attaching it to an insurance policy. So for some people, we can get more into it.
This is free game.
He's spitting knowledge.
It's free game, and people are doing it. And to the point that you're saying, Rick, and this is why I brought it up, because other ethnicities, white folks, Asian folks, Europeans, Indians, listen, they have their money in these policies. Mm-hmm. They have their money. Let me give you one more nugget. I don't want to take too much time, but let me give you one more nugget. I was working with a business partner of mine, and he was breaking something down to me. Actually, I was going through a training with him for a financing option that we have. And this financing option, he was showing me a case that he just completed. He just submitted this, just got finished up with this case, where this doctor, right? So this doctor, obviously, he's making a few $100,000 a year, so he was in a particular position. He wanted to start a policy for his daughter, where he put up $50,000 a year. Now, people say, oh my God, it's a whole lot of money. Well, it's only about $4,100 a month, right? So for some people, again, they're in a position they can do that. Mm-hmm. He put up $50,000 a year for 5 years. For 5 years, right? 5 years and 5 years only. How much is that? 5 times 5, 25. That's $250,000 he put up in 5 years. He let the money sit, right? He'll let the money sit. For the next 5 years, the insurance company is going to put the money in. But after the 10th year, guess how much money was in this policy, right? Because this is a policy that's built for the long term, for the nest egg you're trying to build. After the 10th year, he put in $250,000, but it was $870-something thousand in the policy, right? Then his daughter will get a payout for 25 years. Guess how much the payout is annually? No tax. This is tax-free. Guess how much the tax-free payout is once a year for 25 years? $415,000. Hear me what I'm saying to you. He put in $250,000 in 5 years. In 10 years, it ballooned to $870,000+. For the next 25 years, she's going to get a 1-year payout tax-free for $415,000. Now, this is what people do that are small-minded, that are narrow-minded, that don't see the vision, right? I'm not putting up $50,000 and let my money just sit. Okay, no problem. No problem. But guess what? Whatever else his daughter is doing, I don't know what her profession is. I don't know, what other money she has working for her. I don't know. But in addition to everything else she has, in addition to her home or whatever other asset she has, once a year for 25 years, she'll get a $415,000 deposit, tax-free, income-free in her account. The IRS doesn't count it because it's attached to an insurance policy. Guess what? Nobody can garnish the money. It's attached to an insurance policy. If she's doing a business and she gets sued, nobody can have the money because by the IRS tax code, by law, you can't touch the money from her insurance policy. These are the types of things, people. You don't have to have $4,100 to put up a month. You can have less than that. You can have half of that. But if you're in a position, right? I talked to someone and we were doing a financial analysis, which I give those out complimentary, free of charge, a financial analysis. And I told him, I said, listen, you're looking at $10,000 to $12,000 of disposable income you have every month after everything is paid. Everything is paid. Your mortgage, your bills, your everything is paid, right? You're looking at $10,000 to $12,000 disposable money you have every month. And you just playing around with a few thousand, you putting $3,000, $4,000 in savings, but you just playing around with $7,000, $8,000, $9,000. Do you know what you could do with that money? Right? I said, even if you put up $3,000, I gave you an example of someone putting up $50,000 a year. What if you put up $30,000 a year? right? Put up $3,000 a month, right? You're already wasting money anyway, and the rest of it is just sitting in Wells Fargo or Navy Federal or whoever you are, and they're giving you pennies on the dollar, right? Put up $3,000 a month. Put up $36,000 a year for the next 5 years, and watch what that does for you. Now I have an appointment scheduled with him next week. He said, I gotta show this to my wife. We got to get on this. So those are the types of things that it's more to it than just again, it depends on what end of the spectrum you're on. For some people, you can't afford that, and that's fine. Get coverage. Start tomorrow. Call me tomorrow. Get you some coverage. But for some people that are in a position financially where you want to kind of put some money away for your future, there are other options as well. So we do that as well. So we do it from the lowest to the highest end of the spectrum, wherever you fall. But call me tomorrow.
I don't see your number. See if you can put the phone number in the chat to make sure they get it.
If my mom is on here, put that up there for me, please. 202-505-4605.
Pastor Rick P, I know you wanted to jump in before we close out.
Yeah, so just to piggyback on what we've been saying all evening, it's all about pre-planning.
Yes.
You have the opportunity now.
Yes.
Plan. I even want to touch on another aspect of pre-planning that I know we've dealt with one certain aspect mostly tonight, and that's like without insurance. However, like pre-planning for everybody, because I'm not going to say everybody ain't got no money. That ain't the case. It's best to pre-plan, because when you pre-plan, you have all your stuff in order. You know how everything's going to go, and everything is carried out and done the way that you want it done. Not the way that whoever's making the decisions, they do, well, I got the money, so this one. No, if you have your stuff prearranged,
yes,
it's done the way that you want it done. And then also you have to, it's a lost art, you know, like my grandparents and my parents and them, they did this, but we don't do it now. Purchasing funeral plots and things ahead of time.
Yes.
It's much cheaper pre-need than at need.
Yes.
And what happens is, so like my grandparents and my parents, they bought their plots back in the 80s, in the early 90s, when it was dirt cheap. And the only thing that they had to do at the time of burial is pay opening, closing, and administration fee. So the same plot that they got back in the early 80s that they paid $800 for, people now are paying $7,000 for. All because they pre-planned and they made their arrangements up front. It saves you money, and it saves you time and energy, and it saves your grieving family from the turmoil of going through trying to plan a service, not knowing anything. You would be surprised to not know how many people can't even write their parents' obituary.
No, listen.
You should know, because that's your thing. You help.
I've sat at the tables and said, you know, what are we writing? What are we doing? Give me something again, because I don't know the loved one. I'm looking at them, and they're looking at me.
Yeah.
My thing is, at least say, give me date of birth, give me mom and dad. I've had to build with little or nothing. A lot of times, not because of literacy issues. A lot of times it was also because I'm grieved too much to even go back and even think the kind of baby that they were. So I've had to make things up. And at the end, they say, Miss, you came up with all this? Because guess what I always say? We're not burying no loved one with one paragraph. Right. I'm not going to allow you to do that to yourself. If I have did one-page obituaries for newborns, I'm going to put something in there about them 9 months. We're just not doing that, because I believe that when it's all said and done, you need to have something that you can look at to say, we did well by our loved ones. And so the federal agency is a signature. And I would also say this for those of you that don't know. It's the one of this time. Don't copy it. It is when I tell people what I do, I have government agencies that are in my portfolio. I have government agencies that have said the same thing that you said, Pastor Rick Pringle, that we are the government. We don't have the capacity. We got the money that we can pay you.
Yeah.
We don't have the capacity to do that.
Mhm.
We don't have a staff of people that can leave the office and go to the mall and go shopping and cook food. First of all, they aren't even equipped to do that.
Mm-hmm.
So even the agencies from, DHS, funeral homes, crime victims, I can go through a list of agencies that will call me and say, hey, I have a family here. Can you help them? They're so stuck and so in stress, they don't know where to start.
Right.
And I know that God is going to, now this is where I can speak about the Fairway Agency. God is opening up a window for the Fairway Agency to be seen, to be worldwide, and to be known. This isn't just a DC thing. See, here's the other thing. It's even too big for DC, which is why DC don't like to pay. Oh, no, we don't need to pay you to do that. We'll just figure it out. And guess what I'll do? Because I'm petty. When it's all said and done, I go back and look at what it looked like, and I'll be saying,
You figured it out, didn't you?
You figured it out, and it looked like you figured it out. And so that's why it's important. Pay people to do the job that you don't know how to do.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
This was absolutely amazing, and I definitely feel like this has to be done again, because there are people who are listening. We've been kind of between 14 and 16 people watching, not to mention a lot of my followers, they go back and watch the replay because they either missed it. But this information is so powerful. People do pay for this information.
Yeah.
People do pay for this information. And I said, this podcast is not just a podcast for people to just come on and play games. You have to have something to say. It has to be worth speaking. And I don't got time for no foolishness, because we're in a season of, we're not just in a season of grief. We're also in a season of celebration. Some people can't see it and can't feel it. We're also in a season of elevation, but you got to be prepared for it when it comes. Yeah. And you can't trying to celebrate while you're broke is that's a different kind of a celebration. So you got to put yourself in position to do what's needed. If you love your family enough, don't leave them stressed out. Don't you leave them here stressed out trying to figure out how to put you in the ground.
How?
It's not fair to them. You have your children pulling out 401k. You have them doing stuff that they don't have to do when you shop every single weekend.
Yeah.
You shop. I'm gonna say it again. You shopped every single weekend.
Yeah.
You drunk Starbucks every morning. You didn't miss a morning. You religiously stopped at Starbucks in the morning. So you got to be prepared. These conversations are the conversations that are necessary. We're talking about everything else but mental health. We're talking about everything else but life insurance. We're talking about everything else. We're talking about all kind of stuff. Sit down long enough and listen to somebody tell you the difference between, because it is a difference between life and death, but it's also a difference between being wealthy and being poor.
Absolutely.
I'm not talking about money.
Right.
I'm not talking about money. So you can choose. Ain't no children watching me. You can choose how you want to leave your family.
Absolutely.
Do we have any closing remarks from either of you?
I just want to say thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
You both are welcome. We have to do this again. Rick, they have your information. Pastor Rick Pringle, I want you to put the information to your church in the chat as well.
I think I did, but
okay.
It's the Worship Center DC. You can find me. Well, you can find us on Facebook. You can find me on Facebook at Rick A. Pringle. I'm on Instagram at Rick Pringle. You can find me at Horton Funeral Home. That's 600 Kennedy Street Northwest. I think that's about it. Yeah.
And Rick, did you put, what is your, do either of you stream live on Sundays?
Absolutely, every Sunday. Follow
the
Worship Center DC on Facebook.
Rick, what's yours?
Absolutely. Living Rivers, not living waters, Living Rivers on Facebook. You can find me on Facebook. Again, my business page, Sapiro Financial Group. You can find me there on IG. Same thing, Superior Financial Group. Or you can find me, my ministry on IG as well, Living Rivers. So I'm on IG as well as on Facebook. You can find me there. You can find my information. My number is out there. You can
What
reach
time
out.
is service?
Service is at 2 p.m. for us. 2 p.m.
Now,
We're at
I
8:30 in the
asked
morning.
that question because a lot of y'all be sleep. Y'all stay sleep all morning long. You can get online at 2 o'clock from your bed. You need to stream on, you need to do something, and eventually you need to go and visit because it ain't nothing like being inside the house.
Yeah.
So a lot of y'all, you trying to figure life out, but that's why some of y'all on here, and I know you because we talk and we family. Go to church. Go to church. Go to church.
Look, this Sunday we having Family and Friends Day, 2 p.m. This Sunday. It's every last Sunday of the month. Not fourth Sunday because sometimes it's the fifth Sunday. So it's every last Sunday of the month. It's our Family and Friends Day. So I would love to have you. Love for you to come fellowship with us this Sunday at 2 p.m. For all y'all people that hang out late on Saturdays and you sleeping on Sunday, come see us. Come see us at 2. Yeah. We out of the building by 4. Come see us on Sunday.
Yeah, this Sunday we're actually having our African Heritage Sunday where we're celebrating our African heritage. This is actually our official 2nd anniversary Sunday. Amen.
Wow.
We'll be celebrating in the month of April. However, this is the Sunday that we officially launched the church 2 years ago. So we'll be celebrating that in-house on Sunday as well. Let me just say this before we conclude.
Awesome.
I am so grateful for this conversation because all 3 of us, this is ministry to us.
No doubt.
But this is ministry that the Lord has allowed us and strategically placed us in the marketplace. And not just placed us there, but he's placed us there to be successful. And we don't apologize for it because the blessings of the Lord make it, causes us to be rich.
Yes.
No sorrow. We don't apologize.
Hallelujah.
We don't apologize.
Thank you, Jesus.
That's what, listen, that's why when people come and say your prices are too high, I understand because you got to pay for this service.
No question. No question.
We just gotta, not to brag, not to be braggadocious, but the Lord, we're so grateful for what he's done. We just got a brand new vehicle delivered to us just yesterday, a custom vehicle that cost us over $300,000 to make to serve our families. It costs. So if you want the best service, you can go anywhere and get the cheapest thing out there. But do you want your loved one in that condition where you don't even recognize them when you come? It costs. So, but it's not a problem when you've made the preparations. It's not so costly to you if you've made the preparations, if you have your insurance, if you have your pre-need information done, if you have all your details and stuff, if we plan properly, we'll be all right. We have to get to the place in our culture where we're encouraging our folk to plan. Have these uncomfortable conversations.
No question.
I would prefer to have this uncomfortable conversation with you, Big Mama, than me having to have this uncomfortable conversation with the rest of us after you gone and we got to try to figure it out.
No doubt. No doubt.
This information is so rich. I'm going to be sharing the replay because, and here's the thing. Yeah, the money that we supposed to make, we gonna make it. This ain't about y'all giving nothing to us. This is about us giving something to you.
No doubt.
That's what this is about. Wherever you go and do what you do, yes, we want you to support us. But what we saying is you have to do the necessary so that you ain't sitting out there in the cold looking crazy and not able to, because there's a way to properly grieve and there's an improper way. Here's the thing, and the improper way is you ain't do nothing you were supposed to do, and everybody got to deal with that with you because you ain't did nothing. You were in position. I understand people not always being in position. I'm talking to the people that are in position to fix it, to make it work, to make it happen, and you so selfish that you didn't.
Priorities.
And said, I don't have nothing else. I'm done.
Absolutely. And I'll just say this in closing with insurance, in regards to what you all are saying about making it a priority. You make it a priority, you get it taken out of your account automatically every month, you know, just like you make your rent priority, your car insurance, your car note,
Your
so
tithes.
your tithes, that's it, your 10%.
Your nails.
Exactly. You have it come out of your account every month.
They not gonna ask you, they're gonna take their money every 2 weeks.
Yep.
Absolutely. And you can even have it, we can even set it up where you say, I want it every the second Friday of every month or whatever. So, make sure it hit on your payday or whatever. You can make it a priority, and you can get yourself covered, but you have to take care of it immediately, ASAP. Don't put it off. Don't wait until 2 more weeks from now or what have you. Take care of it now. Let's get it taken care of. Let's get it started. Let's get you done. And that way you can have a peace of mind about it, and it's done. And guess what? Once you do it, once you get it in place, it's in place.
Right.
And it works.
Done.
It works.
You're done. You're done.
So let's do the right thing. We have to learn how to create generational wealth for ourselves. We can't keep sitting around saying they got this, they got this, they got that. Well, you could have had it too, had you not just listened, but you listened and you acted on it. Had you not just listened, but you listened and you paid attention. And so we got to do a better job at what we're supposed to do. And with that being said, thank you for tuning in to the Speak Well podcast. I am your host. I was your host, Ukia, and my two special guests, Pastor Rick times 2. We will see you all soon.
Hey, look at the doggy. I'm sorry.
That's Pepper. He's shy. Say hi.
What's up, Pepper?
What's up?
You got Pepper and I got Snow.
Yeah. Pepper, you want to go see Snow?
Y'all got Pepper, Snow. I got a house full of kids. No,
bye, y'all. Thank y'all.
Love y'all.
Love y'all.
Thank you so much.
Love y'all. Bye-bye.
All right.
All right.